The night was electric, a cacophony of laughter, clinking glasses, and the kind of music that made every heartbeat feel louder than it should. I had always prided myself on my composure, on the ability to read situations and people, but the moment I walked through the grand doors of the ballroom, I knew something was off. Claire had been unusually insistent that I join her tonight. Not because she was excited for me to be there, but because she had something to show, and I had an uneasy suspicion it wasn't me. We navigated through the crowd together, or rather, I followed her as she drifted ahead, chatting with acquaintances, laughing at jokes I hadn't heard, smiling in a way that felt rehearsed. I had seen that smile before, a smile designed for someone else, one that didn't belong to me. My throat tightened, a sharp warning that tonight was not going to be simple. At first, I tried to distract myself. The room was lavish, chandeliers glinting overhead, people dressed in designer clothes, champagne in hand. But nothing could keep my attention from the small, almost imperceptible ways she moved around the room. Her hand brushed against Adam's arm, just a casual touch or so it appeared. But the way she leaned toward him, the quick laugh, the tilt of her head, it was unmistakable. My stomach churned, a knot of anger and disbelief settling in. I had trusted her, or at least I had believed I did. Our marriage had been solid, predictable, comfortable. We had routines, shared jokes, small private languages that only we understood. But the foundation that I thought unshakable now felt like sand beneath my feet. I realized with a sinking heart that the woman I had spent years with was now performing, acting out a life that did not include me in the central role. Claire didn't notice me standing there, or perhaps she did and chose to ignore me. Either way it hurt. Not just the physical distance, but the emotional wall she had built in the span of what felt like moments. Every laugh she shared, every glance toward him, sharpened the silent accusation in my mind. This was not my place anymore. I tried to approach her, to say something that would ground her back to reality, but the words caught in my throat. She spun around as if sensing my presence, her eyes catching mine briefly. And then, the moment I dreaded crystallized. She pushed me lightly, almost playfully, but the smirk on her face was venomous in its clarity. "This party is for my ex," she said, her tone dripping with amusement. The sentence hung, unfinished, a knife cutting through the air. I couldn't finish it either, couldn't imagine the end she intended. I stepped back, heart hammering, struggling to maintain the calm facade I was known for. My hands curled into fists at my sides. I could feel every eye on us, but it was as if the room had disappeared, leaving only her, him, and the unbearable truth in between. The music seemed to fade, the laughter a distant echo. I watched her as she floated through the crowd, Adam always just slightly ahead, the way he tilted his head toward her, the practiced charm in his smile. He was everything I wasn't, at least in this scenario, confident, at ease, untouchable. And she was transfixed by him. Every word I had once thought meant something now seemed hollow. Her voice, the softness I had relied on, now sounded foreign, a performance for someone else's approval. I needed proof, or at least clarity. I couldn't leave with only suspicion gnawing at my chest. But confronting her here, in the midst of everyone, felt both impossible and necessary. The fear of humiliation battled with the rage boiling inside me. I took a deep breath, trying to center myself, to remind myself of every principle I had lived by, calm, collected, rational, but tonight, none of that seemed adequate. The small moments began to add up. The way she excused herself for a call, but disappeared for 20 minutes. The whispered laughter in the hallways when I wasn't looking. And now this, her casual dismissal of my presence, her smirk, the implied thrill of flaunting it. Every detail felt like a betrayal, a puzzle I was only now starting to see. I made my way toward the balcony, hoping the night air would clear my head, give me some composure. The city lights sprawled below, indifferent to the drama unfolding above. I leaned against the railing, trying to steady my shaking hands, the cool metal a stark contrast to the heat of my anger. And then I saw them, Claire and Adam, just past the arched doorway, standing close, their shoulders brushing, heads inclined in a private conversation I wasn't part of. The intimacy was subtle, but it was enough. Enough to confirm what I had feared, enough to fracture any remaining illusions. I wanted to call her out, to make the entire room witness the truth, but part of me knew that would be pointless. The smirk she wore tonight wasn't casual, it was a shield. She had rehearsed it, perfected it, and it wouldn't crumble under my confrontation. And I wasn't ready to be reduced to shouting, to begging, to pleading for acknowledgement of something she clearly didn't regret. Instead, I observed. Every subtle gesture, every slight movement, every whispered word that carried too much weight. The moments stretched, each one a sting sharper than the last. I had imagined this party many times in my mind, but never like this. Never a scene where I was irrelevant, a mere shadow at the edge of her world. And yet, here I was, forced to witness it. I thought back to the small warning signs I had ignored, the late nights, the sudden need for privacy, the fleeting glances at her phone. I had dismissed them, convinced myself they were trivial, that love required trust, not suspicion. But now, those moments returned to me, each a piece of a puzzle that painted a horrifying picture. The realization hit hard. I had been blind. I had let my guard down in a place where vigilance was the only way to protect what mattered. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I ignored it. It didn't matter. No message, no call, could pierce the haze of betrayal settling over me. The music swelled in the ballroom, a cruel soundtrack to the scene I was forced to endure. I could almost hear the laughter, not from the crowd, but from some imagined observer, watching me flounder helplessly as my world shifted under my feet. I finally took a step back from the balcony, forcing myself to return inside, to confront the reality of the moment. Claire hadn't changed, she had revealed herself. The shift was mine to navigate, and I realized that whatever I chose to do next would define the rest of my life. Stand down, walk away, confront, demand truth. Each option weighed against the other, a mental ledger of consequences and risks. The first step, I decided, was observation. Not accusation. Not confrontation. Observation. Letting her actions speak, letting the truth manifest in a way I could measure. I couldn't let anger dictate my actions tonight, no matter how justified it felt. And yet, beneath that restraint, a storm raged, ready to break. Claire turned toward me, caught my gaze for a split second. Her smirk softened, almost imperceptibly, but it didn't reach her eyes. And that, more than anything, confirmed the distance between us. The woman I loved, the partner I had trusted implicitly, had chosen a moment of triumph that excluded me entirely. And I would remember it. Not just tonight, but in every decision, every memory, every future confrontation. I stepped back, exhaled slowly, and braced myself. The night was far from over, and this was only the beginning.